be well prepared to let the elections hold on that day. I've heard all kinds of excuses that, the weather was bad, this and that, so they could not freight election materials to some places. I don't think that it dignifies us as a nation for even people to listen to INEC and be sold by what INEC was saying. I mean, you cannot, it shouldn't be a ritual that every year we postpone elections. If we postpone elections because of security in 2015, we also postponed the election in Edo State because of the same security issues. And even when we do this, we'll still find that after the postponement, there will be places where you cannot hold election on that day because the election materials simply didn't get to those places. We still saw even in 2015, despite the delay, which was supposed to afford INEC opportunity to now be ready, indeed ready for the exam, for the election. There were still places where we had paucity of electoral materials on election day. Remember in 2011, people were on the queue voting when they discovered that result sheets for the presidential election were not ready. And then the form C8, EC8, or what was it called?
EC8A.
EC8A, you know, that it was not even ready. And this is where, this is the form on which the results are written. Once you don't have it,
there was the election.
No, it is assumed that no election took place because that is the valid document on which results are written. So it's unfortunate that this is happening. But you know, after the INEC chairman began to talk, a lot of people were even calling him a hero. You know, this is where we are in Nigeria. We have not asked ourselves how and why countries that are bigger than us, countries with far more treacherous terrain than us, countries like Malaysia, far more treacherous terrain than us, even by air. How do they get by? How do they do elections? Our leaders go abroad. We send even our next staff for training outside of this country. How come we are unable to replicate some of the things that we see done in other countries? Because even the current INEC chairman has gone to the countries outside of this continent, and even within this continent, to oversee elections. So why can't we learn from our mistakes, from our inefficiencies? Almost every year we want to postpone elections. It just shows that we are really backward. We must admit it. We are not a country where people enjoy telling themselves the truth. Because if we enjoy telling ourselves the truth, we won't for a moment claim that we've defeated Boko Haram. Because that is one of the greatest lies from the pit of hell. But we are not a nation where people enjoy speaking the truth. That is why these things happen. Rather than blame or place the blame at the appropriate quarters, we will start saying all sorts of rubbish. And some people will be saying, oh, the INEC chairman said the truth. Oh, he's a hero. We thank God with this postponement now, at least we are sure he can give us free, fair, and credible election. What is the guarantee that in spite of the postponement, the election will be free, fair, and credible?
Okay, let's listen to Comrade Adams Oshomole, the the chairman of the All Progressive Congress.
The National Caucus of the All Progressive Congress condemned the way in which INEC had managed this process. We reiterate the fact that INEC had 4 years to plan for this election. On their own, they roll out the timetable. They ought to have been able to foresee what is required, possible source of challenges, and take appropriate steps to arrest any unforeseen development. Having conducted elections in this country since 1999, in 2019, INEC cannot give excuses. There is nothing new that we have not experienced since 1999. What the All Progressive Congress expected, and I believe all decent and peace-loving Nigerians is that INEC had the advantage, unlike its predecessors, to have learned from the challenges confronted by its predecessors, improve on the method, improve on logistic management, and ensure each free, transparent, and credible election. Unfortunately, in spite of the huge resources which INEC asked for, and which the National Assembly appropriated, and which the executive promptly released to INEC, in spite of all of this, INEC has subjected us to this huge embarrassment as a nation, and by that action alone, a lot of our countrymen and women are completely disillusioned. However, we recognize and say that we cannot throw away the baby with the bathwater. Frustrated as we are, disappointed as we are, and disillusioned as the Nigerian electorate is right now, we have a duty, all of us, including the media, to remind our countrymen and women that this is our country. This is the time to stand up and be counted on the side of democracy. Nothing, and absolutely nothing, that is done by INEC or indeed anyone that has any role to play in the management of this electoral process should dampen the spirit of the Nigerian people to go out and vote and elect a president of their choosing, National Assembly members of their choosing, and of course, governors and House of Assembly members of their choosing. If anything, the sacrifices already made by the Nigerian people, those millions of people who turn out at various campaign grounds, their sweat, their pain, and indeed even those who die because of stampede, they mustn't be allowed to die in vain. The least we can do as a people is to remain resolute, and the National Council.
We had 84 million people plus that actually collected their PVC and they were ready to go. Yeah. And I told you that a state like Katsina State, where I went to monitor them, so they had over 3.1 million registered voters with their PVC, and that recorded for like 98% collection rates for that PVC. Now, would this not affect the turnout next Saturday? Because a lot of people have to travel, a lot of people have to go through different places.
There are two levels. The first level, of course, is the financial cost of moving from one place to the other. The second level is the level of disillusionment that arises from what some people have called monumental incompetence of INEC for a job that they are sworn to do. That's the only job they have, organize elections. But I'm sure that political parties who are going to be the major beneficiaries of this election, one way or the other, will go out of their way to ensure that those that they think will vote for them turn out again on Saturday. The onus has moved away from the incompetence of the umpire to those who are now going to enjoy if they win or thereabouts. And their job is now cut out for them. They must go out of their way to ensure that their own voters, those they do will vote for them, that they come out on Saturday and do the needful.
Barry, what we're looking at here, the president actually said they're going to probe what led to Saturday's event. And from the timeline that INEC has been given before now, INEC has given election dates for more than 20 years. As this INEC, right now, as in it's fixed, statutory. Now, they've given those dates.
Saturday of every February.
Do you understand? So I was looking at this INEC as the most organized and moving forward. And if you go to their website, the days, the time, the seconds that the next election is coming back, it's on INEC website. And a lot of this preparation, all of a sudden, this actually made some states that we had reporters as at 9 p.m., those materials were yet to get to those states. So it was obvious that
INEC was not ready. I mean, it was obvious INEC was not ready, and listening to the INEC chair, he spoke like somebody who had to admit what he was not expecting, in my opinion. But unfortunately, like the maestro said here, this agency had 4 years to plan for this particular election. You see, until we get to a point when we realize that for every grave error like this, somebody will take responsibility. The concept of taking responsibility in Nigeria seems to be different from the concept of taking responsibility in other places in the world. As far as we are concerned now, because Mahmoud came and said, we are sorry, this was the reason. Responsibility has been taken. No. There is, apart from the chairman who must, of course, accept fault, naturally, he is the head of the team. There are people saddled with logistics. There are people saddled with operations. There are people saddled with welfare, security, and the likes. INEC has told us we are postponing this election due to logistics and operational inadequacies. People must take responsibility. The only way we will avoid this again is for responsibility to be taken and to be seen to have been taken. What am I saying in essence is this. INEC should look beyond postponing just an election. Good time, good resources, good many other things owned by Nigerians were postponed with the postponement of that election. There are people who have fixed their wedding for next Saturday. They are doomed. They will have to postpone again.
Because they never envisaged that.
They never envisaged this. This is an INEC.
This
This is the same INEC that gave us a timetable for 20 years, like you said. And people begin to feel that, oh, now we have gotten to a stage where we just look forward to holding an election.
Just US, November 21st.
And it's an anniversary. It's just an anniversary.
First Tuesday.
It becomes an anniversary of some sort. But the very first outing, after giving us that timetable, this is what we have on our hand. INEC had to postpone barely 10 hours to kick off. And the way and manner it was done.
No, that same day.
No, no.
Is that what I say?
No. They postponed around 3 now.
That's what I'm saying.
So that's
less than
that's
5 hours.
On the day.
If we were to start by 8 o'clock,
Election
and
day.
you're postponing election by 3 o'clock, 3 a.m. So what we have seen happen is we have been exposed to ridicule as a nation. And this is something that is quite avoidable. All INEC needed to do long before now, because I'm baffled at the fact that the postponement is just for a week. What INEC will be able to do in 1 week that they couldn't have done, and they didn't see going on. What they have told us is that they didn't see those things going wrong. They waited on the very last minute to discover. Now they have asked for a week to ensure that the weather is okay, to suddenly realize that our roads will be in order for the vehicles to move, to ensure that youth corps members that will be used will not sleep outside again. Things that were wrong for a year, 2, 3. You are assuring us now that you will get it right in a week. My fear is at the end of this postponement, nothing will change. That is my worry.
Babajide, looking at the timeline, because Adam Soshomole actually asked this question from the INEC chairman at the stakeholders meeting. At what point in time did you discover that the weather got bad, as in the materials couldn't get to destination? Yes. Why wait until the last minute before you could, things are going bad. Election is not sure in the next 24 hours. At least it would have saved Nigerians, it would have saved a lot of people, so many things that in the next 48 hours, I don't think this election is visible as at Thursday last week.
No, for some of the INEC staff that some of us are close to, they saw the writing on the wall clearly. They saw it on clearly. But it was difficult to convince the INEC chairman to let that announcement happen by Wednesday at least. Look.
Wednesday before the election?
Yes. They knew that they were not ready.
They knew.
In fairness to them, they knew that they were not ready. And if I'm telling you that I didn't know as early as 4 p.m. that election will be postponed, then I'm a liar. Because you remember when I called you. Mm-hmm. So the thing is, they knew that they were not ready. They knew. But the INEC chairman should have moved faster. The reason it pains people like Oshomole, like they want to die, and the rest of them, is because Parties spend money
They
so
mobilize
much.
for the agents.
No, agents. So Shomole will tell you they mobilize for agents. It's not agents
It's
alone.
beyond that.
You and I know it's not agents alone that they spend money on. Parties spend far more money now on potential voters than the agents. How much are they going to give agents? Potential voters. What a lot of those parties did was on the hip because they don't want to be seen distributing money at voting centers. So the night before the election, in fact, there's a friend of mine who works for one of the two big parties. So I called him. I said, He said, oh, now.
No.
They had shared money to voters in their constituency. They had shared that money
They purchased the votes.
between 7 and 8 p.m. And here was the INEC chairman
Coming to
refusing to
2:30.
if he had look honestly, if he had announced like 2 days before then, it would not have been this painful to people. Look at places like Borno State, for example. People from local governments like Marte, like Guzamala, because the local government headquarters of Guzamala, which is Gudumbali, was not safe because of constant attack from Boko Haram. They now said everyone from that local government that is registered, they should move them to Monguno to go and vote. Now, because of the unsafe nature of that area, they had to go under heavy security with the soldiers constantly shooting so that Boko Haram boys will not ambush them. You put people through all that pain, then the party will shell out money for people who are being put through risk to go and vote in Monguno. The place is foul. You know how big my Borno State is. There are two local governments in Borno State that are bigger than the biggest local government, the biggest state in the southeast. Kukawa and Magumeri, they are bigger than the biggest state in Nigeria southeast. Just two local governments, each of them. So you move people, you give them money. You pay for their transport, the transporters that will move them, you mobilize them, you give them money. And at the end of the day, after you've done all this, hoping that you are in your situation room, you'll be hearing that they have voted for your party. Then what happens? They say election is not taking place. You have to pay them again. If I tell Nigerians the story of lamentation of politicians over this, when people say, oh, it is APC that caused postponement because it is the ruling party that you always blame. That's the natural thing. When that postponement happened in 2015, we heaped all the blame on on Jonathan. We said he was afraid to lose. This time around, too, the PDP members are saying APC is afraid to lose. They knew that Atiku would lose and win. That's why they did it, so that they can roll back his momentum. You can understand why Oshomole and his troops have come out forcefully to attack INEC, so that nobody will say they work with INEC. But the thing that I'm saying is, both parties have suffered as a result of this postponement. Talk to APC members. Talk to PDP members. They've suffered because they now know that they must mobilize 3 times. Instead of 2 times. And it costs a lot of money.
Presidential governorship.
Yes.
And postpone.
These parties borrowed money to do this election. No. They can't publicly say that they didn't borrow money. They can't. Both parties, both big parties, APC, PDP, they had to go and look for money to do this election. Now, parties are broke. That's the implication. Because you are not thinking that postponement will happen. You thought that if it will happen, it would have happened earlier. That's where Professor Mahmoud has offended people. So those who are abusing him, they are saying all kinds of things. You see the fighting language that Oshomole used against him today. The prof deserves to be so attacked because he has dug tremendous hole in the pockets of political leaders. He's going to make them to spend money. Is he going to give them the money?
I even want to move away from politicians. Because whatever they get goes to the territory. The common man today, they are going to suffer this thing. There are going to be ripple effects for the next 4 weeks. Because whatever plans you've made for next Saturday and the Saturday after
Okay,
next.
GKB, hold your breath. Let me take this breather. When we come back, we'll discuss more. It's still Journalist Hangout. We'll be right back. Stay with us. It's your favorite program, Journalist Hangout, reaching you from the television of the year, Television Continental. And Dari, I think it's you now. Moving forward, Professor Mahmood went further to tell political parties, don't campaign. And some people will tell you that he amended the Electoral Act immediately.
I think he was under so much pressure that the professor became confused, and he just had to say something. You see, if you go do a recap of that video, look at the man Mahmood you knew, and the one talking to us that. Within hours, he was looking lean.
To him, he answered those questions
intelligently. But in the process of answering those questions, he now told us campaign suspended. What does the electoral law say? That 24 hours before voting, campaign stops. Now we have a new electoral law by virtue of maybe the electoral law stands postponed according to him. Otherwise, you won't.
Or put in abeyance.
In abeyance, decreed into abeyance. Otherwise, we won't have such utterance from a learned professor. He's learned enough to know that he does not. Even if he's not a lawyer,
he's not learned.
He's learned. Oh well, that's what you think.
No, if you scored a first class in history,
what other knowledge do you need?
It's not easy to score a first class.
Thank you. What other knowledge do you? So what I think sincerely, I learned that INEC will be reviewing that order today according to.
Nobody. See, people have even refused to obey it.
But tactically, nobody has taken the first step.
We have taken.
Oh, good.
People are taking. Even that live that TVC showed. We were not the only. Even NTA. That is supposed to be moderate. I mean, in the scheme of things, NTA showed that live.
So it shouldn't wait until
nobody is obeying.
It should not wait for
we are
people
covered by the law.
Yeah, it shouldn't wait for people to defy him. He should promptly come out and say, "Oh, that was
made a mistake.
Done under pressure. I'm sorry. Go." There is a danger in saying campaign has closed. It will affect the turnout of voters.
Yes.
Because you have mobilized people for Saturday.
You need to remobilize.
People were mobilized. Suddenly, you dampened their morale. They need to be mobilized again. And how do you mobilize people for elections? It's by talking to them. The political parties must go. We are in a country where our orientation agency is at the lowest possible.
No. Anyway,
so political parties do the mobilization. They do the yes. No jingle, nothing from our agency over
for a whole week. No.
And then you will now keep quiet for 1 week. The voter party will be terrible. So I don't think it even calls for any serious discussion, other than to call on Professor Mahmood to be speedy in correcting that error.
No, even if he likes, let him not correct it. People are not obeying it.
It's been defied.
You see, you set media houses back because they sent out people. They've mobilized people at great cost to different voting hubs across the country. And it costs a lot of money to do that, to fly people to all those places, you know. Then there is a window, an opportunity for them to make a little more money through rallies, through jingles, through documentaries that can be done just before the voting day. So people have lost money by mobilizing only to discover that the election can't take place. because you are going to be remobilized to go back to that Daura, whether you like it or not. Now,
Are you passing the other?
Okay, don't go now. No, so now you can choose to trek to the place. Now, you don't want those people to make a little money again
to take care
from
of those
documentaries and those little things. Of course, it will be resisted. Once people can see clearly that they are within the law. Then whatever Professor Mahmoud says can never be superior to the laws of our land.
Yeah.
That is the way people are saying it. It's unfortunate. I can feel what he's feeling. When I see Oshomole abuse INEC and other people too, PDP too, abusing INEC, as if it's not God that created Professor Mahmoud. All I can say to my friend, the prof, is look, Jega went through this in 2011.
Yes.
In 2011, everywhere Jega went in northern Nigeria, he was being stoned. When Jega went in May 2012, when Jega went to witness the marriage of the emir of Kazaure's daughter, he was stoned and they damaged vehicles in his convoy. What did they say? They accused him of rigging the election for Jonathan. So that job is a tough one.
Thankless.
It's a thankless job. If the APC wins the election, the PDP will say no.
The election it has been compromised.
It favored them. If it is the APC that won, the other party too will say no, they rigged it, they used incumbency. So this is the thing. The prof should expect it. It should not be distracted by what politicians are saying. It should just be focused. It should just be focused. And politicians must not overheat the polity in terms of what has happened. Yes, they have a right to be disappointed because they spent money.
Yeah.
You know, but they should be careful because we can't change an electoral umpire so late in the day. It's not going to send the right signals. So the rhetorics coming from the Oshomoles of this world must be moderated. They must show a high sense of responsibility that, look, this disappointment has happened. Let's give INEC the benefit of the doubt, at least to do his job. But if we continue to abuse them with the kind of language that we are using, and we doubt every move by INEC, chances are that the confidence of people in the credibility of INEC will be seriously eroded. And if that happens, no matter the outcome, on both sides, whether APC or PDP, nobody will believe the INEC has done a good job. So we have to be careful not to throw. I heard Oshomole saying that he doesn't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. But as he was closing that press conference, what he was saying amounted to throwing not just the baby, but even the whole toys of the baby with the bathwater.
I think Mr. President also had a very, very harsh word of INEC, and he was very firm today, and he was saying anybody that is responsible or anybody that's next Saturday, anybody that tries to disrupt the process. He fell short of, I think, gunning them down.
He said that would be the last criminal act that person will commit, which means he's given an order to shoot on sight.
Yeah. Directly.
Yes, it's a direct statement.
The president, of course, is a politician, and he too must have felt disappointed, like any other person. More so that he's also on the ballot. And one can understand where he's coming from, but does not give him the leeway to move beyond the responsibility of his office, which of course means that he must show direction. I think the language was harsh.
Oh yes, and dangerous.
And dangerous for those who only where go. I do not know what to say come. And he must find a way between now and tomorrow to tone it down, seriously. Because a lot of people just take it as an order. Actually, those who hear it in translation.
Misguided policemen.
And those who hear it in translation.
No, soldiers.
Remember? So it will be translated into some languages. And there will be.
I hope he knows INEC official will be shut down because they see ballot.
The program will be going, and there's no Barao. So that's the day. The president must quickly and very quickly move to douse that order and let them know the direction he's trying to see. No, he must do it himself. Because no matter what the media person does, he will not get the same
his media team
level.
Can do it. This is what the president meant.
Other political parties, apart from PDP, APC, and they were complaining at the stakeholders meeting, and I asked one particular presidential candidate. That do you have agents in all the 170 polling units across the country? Did you 8,000? Did you mobilize like that? It was like, Ayo, it's not about that.
It's about what?
It's about social media.
I'm looking at the gap between the two major political parties and the...
You will expect that gap in any country or system where you have 90-something
Political parties.
You will expect such gaps. Even in the United States where you have a handful of parties, do you realize that there are some parties that you don't even get to hear their name during the election? Their parties are not as many as ours. Maybe they have about 7, 10, but there are still some parties, that you still don't even, you only hear about them in their counties.
There are parties that are limited.
They are limited to their counties, but they also
go for local
will not even engage in state elections.
That's what some of these parties will be doing.
That is exactly where I'm going. Some of these parties should not be participating in the
Federal
presidential election. Not even in state governorship election. What are they doing for us? They are helping the country to waste money.
Look at
but some of them know what they are doing. They use it to negotiate. Before you hear it, somebody who had used us tremendously to get cheap publicity, come to the media, stand in front of camera, and be uttering gibberish. When he gets an opportunity, he will say he has stepped down for the PDP candidate. Or say, Megaskia, I have stepped down for Megaskia. Muhammadu Buhari, I have stepped down for him because he's the best.
He will negotiate.
It took you more than 2 years to know that Buhari was the best. On the eve of an election, you now go and say you are stepping down for Buhari.
We should still look forward
because you expect to be given
to be settled or to be given appointment. A man
what is happening. It's all negotiation.
Who set out for presidential position will now take SSA to the SA.
So that one has been happening since. So remember the APC, AD national chairman. AD national chairman, being brought into Obasanjo's.
All right, moving forward now, the cat and mouse game that armed banditry in ZAMFARA state has assumed is becoming endless. The more security agencies try to curtail the menace, the more the bandits devise ways to escape. But it was cheering to hear that troops of the Nigerian army killed 37 bandits and rescued 80 kidnapped people in the state in 2 weeks. The sad aspect of this is that 6 gallant soldiers paid the supreme price in the operations. Meanwhile, on the day Nigerians were supposed to vote in the presidential and National Assembly election, the Boko Haram insurgents were busy carrying out attacks. The insurgents carried out coordinated attacks in parts of Borno and Yobe states, targeting civilian locations and military formations in Maiduguri, Buniyadi, and other areas. Casualties were on both sides. Let's first talk about the ZAMFARA bandits. I thought the military are recording progress.
You see, at the beginning, I thought we had finally found a solution to those bandits because we made a decision to deploy the Air Force using Katsina as an operational base. So the earlier problem of lack of access to fuel dump was taken care of because Katsina is very close to ZAMFARA. So using the airport in Katsina as a launch pad, they were able to get to the targeted locations of the bandits in good time, because of the speed of the aircraft. We get there on location and quickly take out these guys. So they began to destroy under what is called Operation Sharandaji. They were able to destroy these guys. And the first set of pictures that we saw really gladdened our hearts that, look, our guys were becoming on top of the situation. But just like the Boko Haram thing, that when you make big gains and you publicize your gains, you let them see that you've made big gains, the enemy retreats and recoups and comes up with a strategy that will ensure that you are unable to take him out completely. Sometimes when we talk about, oh, you no longer hear about bombings in Abuja, in Kano, and other places, it is purely the result of a change in tactics by the opponent, I mean by the enemy, because the enemy has seen that it could no longer sustain its cells, its active cells in those places. So it decides that, okay, let's kuku remain, let's be localized in 3 states of the northeast, so that these guys don't destroy us completely. What happens, the fact that a lot of those areas are now safe, is not a result of an extensive security cordon. Because I've gone to a lot of those places, visited even like a plaza in Abuja, you go in, nobody searches you. So, but the enemy has stopped targeting those areas. Because they know that if they do that, in no time they will be destroyed. So they will focus on those, not soft targets, because soldiers are not soft targets. They've restricted themselves to a part of the northeast. Now, this is the same thing that these guys have done. A lot of them have retreated to parts of Katsina. You can see that the insecurity in Katsina now is a lot worse.
Yes.
To the point that some people are even relocating from Katsina to Niger Republic.
There's kidnapping in Katsina.
Yes, it's now rampant. It's the same people. All of those, there are about 8 local governments in Katsina, bordering Briningwari and Zamfara. So it's those local governments that you see that these guys are active. They've also moved into some parts of Sokoto, like Rabah, which is the local government of the late Sadana Amadou Bello. So they too are changing tactics. So if it is easy for the Air Force to locate their camps, they are now constantly moving so that they won't be sitting duck. They won't be like a sitting duck
waiting for
to the Air Force. So, and they have not stopped killing people. So it's difficult. We have to keep, that's why we keep talking about the need for top-notch intelligence gathering, because if we have it, at every point as they are planning, we'll be one step ahead of them. Before they move into a location, we will have been there to secure the place. But what we have now are those local governments where these killings are constant, like Zurumi, like Maradon, like Shinkafi. They are still very active in those places. So we can only encourage the Air Force and the Army to continue to work hard. Someday, we will be able to sing songs of victory against the enemy.
When we're supposed to be having presidential election, the Boko Haram guys, they took that opportunity and they struck.
Yeah, that's to be expected. Don't forget that even the military sometimes celebrates days that we thought there would be attacks, and there were no attacks. Remember October 1, May 29, things like that. For you to know that these bandits and these Boko Haram guys also target days of national significance to strike. So it's not really news. The news there is that how did we react to the attack that we are expecting? Because I expect this attack not only on presidential election, even on the other elections that are coming up, because it gives them very big visibility in media. Because an election will take away, will divert attention from them, and they do not like that. They want to ensure they're always in your subconscious, and they keep doing this. So that these attacks are strange. They're not strange to me. And I'm telling everybody who knows, things I want to know about terrorism is that don't think they will not strike again on those days of other elections. The job of our military is to ensure that these things are nipped in the bud.
What's the attraction there when we begin to see this thing? At the same time, we know our security right now, they're concentrated in conducting free, fair election. The military guys, they are overstretched all over the country, trying to make sure that we have credible election. And what will be the implication of this? Would this not affect turnouts in places like Borno?
Well, I'll be shocked if actually we drill our soldiers from the war front to go and be part of the election. It will be fighting.
No, I don't think so. But what is it?
So, but notwithstanding, even if we have kept our soldiers where they are, the remaining troops are obviously not even enough to secure our large expanse of land for the election itself. Now, if we are now having attacks and help will be needed in those areas, it will put a lot of pressure on our security arrangement. But it is the situation we have found ourselves, and the military as well as the government hold the populace this duty of not only securing those who will be voting, we also need to secure areas where we know these bandits and insurgents can strike. For example, like GKB said, everybody ordinarily would have expected that in Borno or Yobe, it is likely Boko Haram will make some moves. One would have also expected that we will be ahead of them, like Vajide said, should be ahead of these people. Intelligence gathering will help more than sheer brute force in most of this situation. But as we will also be going for election at the weekend and subsequently, more effort should be concentrated in areas where we still have these criminals, these insurgents. Talking about what the bandits are doing in ZAMFARA, it is similar to what the Boko Haram people are doing in the Northeast. You are not going to take them out that easily. We should realize that this is a marathon. We must be ready to go all the way. And the only way to make lasting impact is to continually go after these guys wherever the governor of Katsina State, former Speaker Masari, had to come out lamenting. He was close to tears, saying Katsina is no longer safe. Yeah. That people are just being picked up. I have friends in Katsina. I served in Katsina, like I said. I lived 3 years after service in Katsina. I have friends there. There was a time recently that the State Polytechnic was practically closed down. It's in the capital city, out of fear. And there are people doing businesses in Katsina that can no longer move freely. The roads linking Libya, Niger Republic, and the likes are trade routes for some people dealing in some transborder commodities. Now they can no longer do their businesses. So government must realize that the bandits in ZAMFARA are not, they've not created themselves for ZAMFARA alone. What they are just looking for is the opportunity to fester. If we give them that chance, Katsina will become their base again. Sokoto is a stone throw, and they will, because ZAMFARA shares border with Kaduna, I think, too, in some areas. So they can become very dangerous if allowed to spread. Now that we have them in ZAMFARA, let's cage them there, take them out, and end what is beginning to appear like another menace, if not promptly addressed.
It's going to be very difficult to wipe them out, Jide. I mean, ISIS is still battling to hold parts in
the last
one. No, terrorism, as in to wipe these people out, the Boko Haram guys entirely.
Boko Haram at this stage now, it's difficult to even be talking about wiping them out because we are not taking the right steps. I've said it, the president needs to sit with his counterpart in Chad. And whatever the Chadians ask for, our president should be ready to give. Because if Chad gives us 100% commitment, honestly, in no time, Boko Haram will be history. The bulk of the Tumbus, that is the islands of Lake Chad, are in the Nigerian part. That's what the Chadians are saying. They are in the Nigerian part. But the Chadians understand that area a lot better. The Chadian troops are seasoned in the whole of West Africa. They are the most battle-ready, the most hardened, because constantly they've been fighting. And you will remember what they did in Mali. So we need them. We need these guys. When they came to fight on our soil, the president was not happy. He said, how are the mighty falling? Yeah. But after that, we all know, those in the armed forces know, that even Cameroonian troops have come into Nigerian territory to fight alongside our troops in the Bama area. So what are we talking about? Recently, Cameroonian troops and they conducted joint operations on our soil. So it's no big deal. We just need to take out the enemy. If we are desperate to take out the enemy, whatever alliances we can get into, we need to use it. France has helped Chad so much that even now Chad is rated among the top 10 air force in Africa. Check it out. Yes, they are constantly supplying them weapons.
And we are refusing
the support that
help.
We do not get from our so-called allies in the West, France continues to give the Chadian armed forces. They train them, they provide them with equipment.
And they have air power.
They have air power, superior air power.
Chad.
All of these things. So I don't want to talk about the strength of Nigeria on air because it will show that I'm irresponsible. But I'm saying that if we work with the Chadians, if we commit them to help us come here, work with our troops, honestly, they will exterminate Boko Haram because they understand the terrain very well. When it comes to tank warfare, they are very good. That area, they are familiar with that area. Look at what they did in 2015 now. Within a few days, they are taking over a lot of the territories. Dikwa, all of those places where we put them. You know, so we need them again. We need them. If we can get their support, Boko Haram will be history.
I want to thank you, Dari Odufoko, for being part of this edition of Journalist Hangout. Osioba. Osiare. Thank you so much. GKB. Kanikaya de Balogo.
Without a fly whisk.
If I bring my Osasogo here now, he will run away.
You'll be able to predict who will win the election.
I know who will win. I know who will win. I know who.
The pastors don't take the shine away from you.
If I told you,
tell us who will win.
If I told you, I have to
wait
kill
till
you.
Thursday. We'll talk about it on Thursday. And that's it on Journalist Hangout. Join us tomorrow for another interesting edition of the program. We're also on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at TVC News.